2023 was kicked off with big tech companies laying off thousands of people, and my heart goes out to all of them, and I hope that you will be in a better position in the months to come or in the years to come. So let's take a look at why are these layoffs happening. Let's go back to 2019 Q4. Things are going great with the entire world. In 2020 Q1, COVID comes into the picture. Then deaths, lockdowns, economic instability. Tens of millions of people lose their jobs. The revenue growth of the big tech takes a hit, and the unemployment rate in India hits a whopping 23.5%. Then things rebounded in 2020 Q3. People started spending more time with mobile phones and computers, both for work and play. And this happened across the entire range of the age spectrum and across the world, which meant a tech boom for all the companies, more users, more user engagement, which led to growth. There is more projects, more hiring. So there's another tangent to it, which suggests that governments around the world started giving financial aid to their respective citizens. They printed more money, which went into the stock market, and the stocks of these companies raised. This had a cascading effect of more jobs being in the market, people moving from one company to another, and getting significant salary hikes. Now, fast forward to Q2 2021 through 2022, when things getting back to normal, as we call it. Stocks crash, revenue growth slows down, companies start doing hiring freezes, a war breaks out in the world, fuel prices shoot up, and then the prices for everything shoot up, especially here in the US. As a result, inflation is all-time high. And then companies start laying off. Okay, let's see what has happened in the past so far. Industry-wide layoffs are generally linked with a recession, and recessions are pretty common in the bigger scheme of things. They usually happen in like every 5 to 8 years. There are a few notable ones. First, the major one being the Great Depression of 1930, where the stock markets crashed and people were left with no money. The unemployment rate in the US at that time hit like a whopping 25%, which is actually humongous. The second one was a small recession during the World War II, but what happened after that is interesting. So during the war, because of the government control, people saved a lot. There was this long boom from around 1946, like after the World War II, to 1966. People had a lot of money. The only thing that they did was they just bought stuff, and GDP spiked. And that is when this term came into being, the American dream. And I think that I'm digressing now. The third major one was spurred by the 2000 dot-com bubble, where the stock prices rocketed up for the companies that had a website. And eventually, a lot of people were left with no money. The most recent one was the housing crash of 2008, where people were buying houses which they couldn't afford because of the lenders. House prices rose at first and then they crashed later. The big lenders went bankrupt, stock markets crashed. Again, people were left with no money, with unemployment hitting 10%. The major learning from the past has been that whenever people are left with no money, it leads to decrease in consumer spending, which leads to decrease in factory profits, which finally spurs layoffs. Okay, coming back to the present now. I have this weird feeling that the layoffs that are happening in 2023, they actually don't align well with what we have learned from the past. People have money, but still layoffs. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm wondering if this is just an imitation game, or if this is just a course correction as suggested by the intellectuals. And so as per them, these companies hired way beyond than they should have in the last 2 years, and now it's time to drop the load. And we also get to see other reasons like this. Okay, let's take a look at the situation in India. So far in the history, India has actually not seen significant industry-wide layoffs. There has been quite a few recessions. To give you an idea, a lot of young people don't actually know what this term layoff even mean, which is actually pretty strange. This may be because India is still in its transition to become a capitalist country. But with these big tech layoffs, the impact has started coming to India as well. We have already seen companies like Byju's, Vedantu, Unacademy, Oyo, Ola, Cars24, and a couple more. And interestingly, there are a lot of companies that are still hiring. You can find the list in the description below. So let's now take a look at the future. What's next? Where are we headed? Well, frankly, nobody knows. Literally no one. Not even fund managers, the investment banks, no one. I mean, if they knew so much, all of this wouldn't have happened in the first place. So, if there's one thing that history teaches us, is that layoffs are contagious, especially today, where an employee of one company is actually a customer for other companies in multiple industries. So if these layoffs continue, rest assured that they will spread to other industries, not just tech. Everything is anyhow tech, right? And other countries as well, even the non-capitalist ones. So there is another thing that history teaches us, that good times are not far ahead, because when situation really goes bad, the governments will step in and bail us out. There is another thing that history teaches us, that layoffs are not a one-time thing. They actually happen in batches. So we have two possibilities from here on. The best case is that this was just a course correction and things will improve from here on. The worst case is the layoffs spread like a disease, get to other industries, and we are officially in a recession, and this is what the history suggests. Okay, let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And that is anyhow what software engineers do, right? I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get. All right, preparing for the layoffs. Okay, so if you are in a school or college, you probably need not to do anything in specific, because you don't have a job anyhow. Work on your skills, which may be tangential to what your course is all about. Learn content writing, public speaking, graphics, editing, acting, if you will. Build your own brand. And if you're already working, here's my take. So the employees who are most safe, I think frankly there is no rocket science here. Those who work on the most business critical themes, or those who are rock stars, well, not really. You can get unlucky here. So with all the recent layoffs, one thing that I could figure out just by looking at the LinkedIn feed, it doesn't look like the layoffs were based on the performance. A few people that were promoted were also laid off. The employees who are most vulnerable, again, no rocket science, the low performers. So it indeed is time to brush up your interview skills. You can watch this interview prep video that I created. Keep your resume updated. And I created this another video to guide you on that. And by the way, if the worst case happens, these two things won't help because there won't be any jobs, but at least the supply of manpower would be more than the demand. The other thing that everyone should do is what I have actually mentioned in two of my previous videos. One video was actually created before even the layoff started, is save just for the sake of it. And these are the times when the savings help. Instead of the layoff taking this time away from you, your savings will give it back to you. All right, so how to tackle a layoff? So let's say you were laid off. Now thinking in hindsight, if your whole team is laid off, there was probably nothing that you could have done. You could have maybe moved to a more business critical team, but I don't think it's possible in these times. Okay, if some of your peers were kept, well, from the surface it appears that it was performance based. From the recent stories, it doesn't look like it's the case. And even if it was performance based, you need to just move on to other company. I know it's easier said than done, but for the new job search, you can actually focus on the companies that recently got well funded. And if you already have multiple job offers, maybe consider a company where that particular team is working on the most business critical project. In other words, has the biggest impact on the revenue for that company. And if you can, prefer a company that keeps employees first, like truly. And actually that company does exist in an imaginary world though. Looking at the blessing in disguise, the severance packages are super good, like 60 days of notice, 6 months of salary, a few months of stock vesting. So I've added a link in the description. You can actually check out all the severance packages offered by the big tech companies. Folks, I've added some stuff in the description below, which I've taken from fellow creators' initiatives to help those who have been laid off. Just feel free to check those out. So whatever is going on these days is kind of a testimony to the fact that we live in a capitalist world, which is brutal. And it has actually been proven time and again. And as India transitions into a capitalist country, we better be prepared for it. So build skills, save as much as you can, and do whatever you want. This is GB signing off, and I hope to see you soon. And by the way, if you like the video, there was some research that went into it. I'll add all the references in the description. Feel free to check those out. And hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your batchmates, with your friends, with your family. Bye.